Did you know a man pretended to be an airline pilot for years and flew over 250 flights without ever having a license? This isn't a movie plot. It's the unbelievable true story of William Chandler, a man who deceived one of the world's largest airlines and held the lives of thousands of passengers in his hands. How did he do it? How did one man with no formal training gain access to the cockpit of a commercial jetliner, time and time again? This is a story of audacity, deception, and the chilling realization of just how fragile the systems we trust can be. The year is 1957. The golden age of air travel is in full swing. Planes are bigger, faster, and more glamorous than ever before. It's an era of trust, where the man in the crisp uniform and gold-striped epaulets is seen as an infallible hero of the skies. And in this world, a young, ambitious man named William Chandler sees an opportunity. But Chandler isn't a trained aviator. He's a con man with a dream of the high life, and he's about to pull off one of the most daring impersonations in history. His plan was deceptively simple. He observed pilots, studied their mannerisms, their jargon, and their routines. He learned that during this era, pilots could often hitch a ride for free in the cockpit's jump seat if they were deadheading traveling to another airport to start their next shift. All he needed was a convincing uniform and a whole lot of nerve. Chandler acquired a pilot's uniform, piece by piece, and forged an ID. He learned to walk with the confident stride of a seasoned captain, to nod knowingly at the flight crew, and to speak the language of aviation with just enough fluency to blend in. His first few attempts were nerve-wracking, but to his astonishment, it worked. No one questioned the man in the uniform. He was waved through security, welcomed aboard by flight attendants, and offered a seat right behind the real pilots. For over 2 years, William Chandler lived a double life. By day, he was a respected, albeit non-existent, pilot. He flew across the country, from New York to Los Angeles, Miami to Chicago. He sat in the jump seat of over 250 flights, operated by one of the biggest names in aviation. He even flew internationally. He wasn't just a passenger. He was an observer, absorbing everything. He learned the pre-flight checks, the communication protocols with air traffic control, and the intricate dance of buttons and levers on the control panel. He made friends with real pilots, sharing stories and coffee in airport lounges, all while hiding his staggering secret. He was a ghost in the machine, a phantom in the cockpit. Then, he crossed a line. Observing was no longer enough. On several flights, when one of the pilots would leave the cockpit for a break, Chandler, with his disarming charm, would convince the remaining pilot to let him take the controls. Just for a moment, he'd say, "Let me get the feel of her." Incredibly, they let him. William Chandler, the imposter with no license, was actually flying commercial airliners full of unsuspecting passengers. He would take the yoke, guiding the massive machine through the clouds, his heart pounding with a mix of terror and exhilaration. He was playing with fire, flying a multi-ton aircraft tens of thousands of feet in the air, and he was getting away with it. But like all high-stakes gambles, the winning streak had to end. The ruse began to unravel, not in the air, but on the ground. A suspicious airline employee, a clerk who had seen Chandler around a bit too often and noticed small inconsistencies in his story, decided to do some digging. There was no record of a William Chandler in the employee database. His ID number didn't exist. Alarms were quietly raised. The airline, realizing the potential for a massive scandal, started a discreet investigation. They tracked his movements, cross-referenced flight manifests, and slowly, the true scale of his deception came into focus. The phantom pilot was about to be grounded permanently. One fateful day in 1959. As Chandler confidently strode through an airport preparing for another free ride, he was met not by a welcoming flight crew, but by authorities. The jig was up. His arrest sent shockwaves through the aviation industry and the public. News headlines screamed about the fake pilot and the great imposter. How could this have happened? How could a man with no credentials bypass every layer of security? The airline faced a storm of public outrage and internal review. Procedures were tightened, ID checks became stricter, and the entire culture of unquestioning trust within the pilot community was forever changed. Chandler's con exposed a critical vulnerability that had been hiding in plain sight. In the end, William Chandler was sentenced for his crimes. His audacious 2-year joyride in the sky was over. His story became a cautionary tale, a lesson in the dangers of complacency and the importance of verification. It forced the entire industry to reevaluate its security protocols, leading to many of the stricter regulations we see in place today. The golden age of casual trust in the cockpit was officially over, replaced by an era of stringent checks and balances. William Chandler's incredible deception serves as a chilling reminder. It shows how a single, determined individual can exploit the very systems designed to keep us safe, all with a well-pressed uniform and a confident smile. It's a story that makes you look twice at the person in uniform the next time you board a flight. And the most unbelievable part: for 2 years and more than 250,000 miles, no one noticed, until it was almost too late.